All right, we're live. Let's make sure we're set up here. Looks like it. All right, for those of you watching this on the replay, Jonathan and I are going to start doing some streams weekly to try to just put some more great, Amazon resource out there. I feel like we're both pretty knowledgeable in the space. We've both been selling for multiple years, full time at this point. So definitely a lot of value to give. So we're going to try to do that with a bunch of different topics.
Yep. And just to add to that, we've been, as you said, we've been at this for a while now. We've known each other and communicated on and off. And I think both of us, just want to create, we both have a wealth of knowledge to give and also want to create some more seamless opportunities to put out content. So I think like a consistent live, as we've discussed, is just like a perfect solution.
Yep. So if you guys have any questions, we're going to we'll announce the topic in a few seconds here when we get a few more people on the live. But if you got any questions on the topic, we will be basically deep diving on every topic that we go into on the weekly. And hopefully you guys learn something new each time, because we, like Jonathan said, we have a lot of wealth of knowledge, and we feel like not a lot of people go super in depth on certain topics. So we feel like we're going to just nerd out on some things, and hopefully you guys learn something.
Yeah, there's so many wrinkles and nuances to Amazon that, like, rather than just, generic big picture stuff, like we can really dive into certain tabs and keep strategies, philosophies, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Thanks for joining, Hamda. Chris asks, any grocery brands to help me? Been months, found nothing. Tampa, Florida here.
I'll chime in with that. The first 2 years I did all RA, and I'm from South Florida, and Publix is everywhere. I know that they're all over Tampa as well. And I would say before brand, every single week, Publix has a buy one, get one free on at least one brand of coffee. Okay. And so I would just literally every week, until you go through all of them, because then they recycle, manually source, whether that's taking a picture of the shelves at Publix and going home and typing in Javalia flavor 1-pack, Javalia flavor 2-pack, Javalia flavor, every keyword thing that you can think of. I use Inventory Lab, Scoutify. You can do that in Keep a Product Finder. However, you can do it in SellerAmp, whatever keywords you want to use. And the thing that's great about that is once you find winners, those keep coming on BOGO every couple weeks, couple months, whatever it is. So you now have a landing spot to go to. And Javalia, I will say, because I don't really do it anymore, I was locked in on that for a couple years, and every single time there's so many varieties and variety packs and different flavors. There's ground coffee, there's whole bean, there's K-cups. If you get locked into just BOGO coffee and Publix, and then while you're there, you hit the clearance shelves, right? That's unique to each store, and check out the other BOGOs. Publix was huge for my RA. And then if you're more OA, you can at least use that as a starting spot to catapult you online.
Speaking of the coffee as well, you can definitely find, let's say this is pretty specific, but like a Staples or an Office Max, Office Depot, those stores, they also will have like discounted K-cups, or even I've sold their seasonal K-cups or seasonal coffee also does really well certain times of the year. Like the pumpkin spice time of the year, like I found like a bunch of boxes of K-cups of the pumpkin spice flavor at a TJ Maxx, and I bought everything on the shelf. They sold all in the same day. So, if you find stuff like that too, there's a lot of grocery out there. But yeah, I think you gave a great starting point on like how to just like sort through the mess and actually find a good starting point.
And just to add to that, K-cups are fantastic if you think about it. I mean, right off the bat, you have something that doesn't have moving parts, so you're not going to get returns. And they're consumables. So and it's coffee, which people drink every single day. So it's the type of thing that, you buy time and time and time again. It might be a lot of upfront loaded work to find that initial 1, 2, 3. But there's so many different listings with coffee in particular. But then again, you're at a grocery store, so challenge yourself. New brand today, I'm going to scan. New BOGO today, I'm going to scan. New section, whatever. And then this way you create a shopping list. And if you're in Tampa, like I was in South Florida, you can literally hit 20 Publixes within 30 minutes, and that's not an exaggeration.
Awesome. Amna says, I decided to do online arbitrage. It's been a week. I'm searching every day. I can't find even a single product. Please help. I can't do retail arbitrage. We'll get into that a little bit later, but first we want to kind of discuss, or at least introduce, the topic that we're going to talk about in depth more today. So basically, Jonathan and I decided that each week, instead of doing like interview style, we're gonna really just pick a specific topic or idea, and we're just gonna deep dive, give our own opinions on our thoughts on them. Hopefully get some questions around the topic, and then just really give our expertise, because we feel like we have a lot to give. So, and then maybe after that, we can tie in some online arbitrage, sourcing methods in there too, because it all ties in. But Jonathan, you want to introduce what we're planning on talking about today?
Yeah. So if anyone's not familiar, recently it's been brought to my attention, and like, I guess just the Amazon space as a whole, the brand Clinique, which is like a really popular, if you're not familiar, beauty brand. Essentially, in the upcoming, I don't remember the date, to be honest, but basically you're not going to be able to sell that brand anymore. And a lot of people sell that brand. I've seen certain posts about the numbers that some people do. And I think it's just a great talking point, because there's a couple of things here, and we'll dive into them, but like, it's just a swift reminder. I'm trying to think of my first reaction when I saw this, and it's like, what would happen if my best brand went away tomorrow? It was a swift reminder that this is still Amazon's arena, and we're kind of just playing in their sandbox. I think it's an incredible opportunity, but they still ultimately call the shots, right? And by the way, I don't know why this happens. I don't know if there's a lot of like counterfeit or like fake items for this brand. Do you have any idea on how this comes to be?
I think there's a couple different theories out there. I think the counterfeit's one of them. I mean, Amazon has partnerships with certain brands all the time. Like they used to be partnered with Nike. Like Amazon used to sell Nike, back in the day, and then that partnership broke, and now it's a big OA brand. But I think it could be a number of things. But to me, like that like affordable beauty product category, that seems more likely a counterfeit issues that they're just sick of dealing with, or the brand is also maybe getting involved and saying, there's too much like slippage and bad stuff happening with our brand. We want to clean it up. So can you ban some, only authorized sellers on the listings? So
yeah. Chalk it up to Amazon. It's just par for the course. A couple of things that came to mind though. I actually did kind of have this happen in a roundabout way. Like I was relatively new to online arbitrage, and I had 2 vitamin brands, and I'll say them because if you want to dive into them, I got IP complaints repeatedly. So like, I'm not selling them. Garden of Life, and Nordic Naturals, and I think Nature's Way. I was selling all of these and doing pretty well with them. I had my first $10,000 profit month with those stuff making up the majority of my catalog. And then IP complaint, like, lawyer letter, IP complaints. It was just like, it was a very rude awakening that I had too many eggs in one basket. But the thing is, I also am gung-ho on, once you get out of the beginner stage where you're just testing everything, I think there's tremendous value in becoming an expert, like knowing the entire catalog of a certain brand and all of the sites that it's on. Huge value in that. I mean, I sell a lot of brands, but I bet 80% of my catalog is made up of 5 to 10 brands. Like, I feel like I'm an expert in those. Yep. So one of those gone is a big chunk. But then I also remind myself, well, that same time, there's so much out there. If that were to happen, you would just divert that attention to another brand until you got back to there. And that's just part of the game, you know? How about you? Like, how many brands do you sell predominantly? I know we sell a bunch of stuff, but like, do you subscribe to like, you know, becoming an expert, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of sellers that kind of feel like they've been sourcing enough where they feel they're experts in a certain brand or category is I'm following the 80/20 rule basically where yeah,
Yeah,
20% of my products make up 80% of my revenue. In that range or so because yeah, you find brands and then you find them on a sale and then you realize that okay, the offer count didn't move a crazy ton when I bought these. I should have went a little bit deeper. Next time I'll remember that. And then another site runs another deeper sale on that, or another holiday comes around, it's on sale, you buy a bunch more, and then it does well for you again, and you just really, you get more confidence because you're understanding the brand better, you're understanding the sales cycles of how that brand interacts, and then you also understand, what happens to the price of that on Amazon and the demand. And yeah, I'd say there's like 3 or 4 brands that probably like are my best, most selling, and then there's probably 5 or 6 other ones that aren't too far behind, but, I'm just not going as deep or I just, they're not selling as much. So it's definitely, yeah, I'm diversified, but not a ton. But like you said, I mean, you also can't go into this scared to go deep thinking like expecting an IP complaint or expecting
right.
something to happen. If you've done the research, you've done the test buys, and selling stuff over and over again. If you, I'm not a huge, or I'm a fan of you buy 5 and test buy them, they sell. Again, maybe, it's hard to tell if you're going to get an IP complaint. Buy 10 more, maybe, or 15 more instead of buying 50 more, right? Maybe, you could sell 50, but if you go a little bit bigger on the test buy the next time around, 15 to 20, then you sell out of those. And now you have 2 different sales cycles of, wow, I sold this. They all sold what I thought they would. The next round also replenished, sold what I thought they would. Now I'm more confident going, a lot deeper the next time around. So yeah, I'm definitely a proponent of diversity, but you also got to know when to kind of squeeze the value out of certain brands
Yeah.
when the time has come.
Yeah, I think for anyone that's newer on, I'm like, I think you got to taste everything. But once you get a little bit of success with, let's say, a brand, let's say that you find 3 winning products, well, then it's very likely 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on are out there. I find that, like I always say, like I don't just find one winning product from a sale. I don't find one winning product from a site, not one from a variation. Like they're all around each other. And I think you try things, you go wide, but once you get a taste of success, you want to become an expert in certain brands, in my opinion. And this Clinique thing doesn't change my take on that. You can't predict certain things like that will happen. And there's so many advantages of becoming an expert. Like for one, you don't really worry about IP complaints and issues like that because you've sold it so much at a certain point. You know what the deal is. So you can buy 100. And by the way, the things I buy 100 on now, not that it's very frequent, but I've probably gone through 2 years of selling this brand and that product, and it only has the opportunity to be bought at this price once or twice a year. So like it's a long-term thing that gets you to this point. It's not something that just happens overnight. Um, and so yeah, I'm a huge advocate for becoming an expert, and like, but I'm always trying new stuff too because I'm always looking to find that next brand that I'll become an expert in, or just this is a one-off opportunity. So definitely always be adding things to your catalog by way of test buys, new brands, new sites, whatever. But also, I think it's better to have 5 brands that you're locked in on than 15 that you just scratch the surface. You don't know when you can go super deep, or you don't know when the right sale comes on at the perfect site. But it's second nature to me for certain brands because I'm checking them every single day because I've just had success with those and I'm just going to ride it out. So, overall, this doesn't change my stance at all on. I'm really gung ho on, become an expert and always be adding to your catalog, knowing that you always want to find the next brand to just continue to stack on for not just this reason, just to continue to get better at Amazon.
Yep. Yeah. The ideal situation for yourself is you have those, 5 to 10 brands. Maybe you're not replenishing them all the time, but each week, you're able to buy or replenish some of those good brands that you're finding profitably. You've sold them in the past, and then the rest of your time is spent, or the rest of your purchasing power basically is spent, test buying new brands, so you can hopefully find more replens or more of those. You can add to that 5 or 10 winning product list, because it's kind of a numbers game. Once you get to that point where you're able to buy pretty deep on certain brands, the more of those certain brands you have, the easier it is to maintain your sales and grow in revenue each month, based
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. And then something else I wanted to jot down, I think is worth talking about in this regard, is like, it's just another reminder that it still is Amazon's game, and I don't know, like we talked about, I don't know everything that goes into this, but they say it's gone tomorrow, it's gone tomorrow. Like, that's just how it works. And a couple of things from that. For one, something that comes to mind is that I really, really think that Amazon is a great opportunity, and I'm going to ride it until the wheels fall off. I really am. But also, I don't think, if I were talking to myself or just anyone starting off, I would probably say to have a game plan of paying yourself or pulling out money from a very early stage, even if that means scaling at a slower rate. Because, by the way, it's going to take a long time to become good at sourcing. So you're spending money on a lot of times things that are not necessarily great buys. And I think it's really smart to especially once you get going with this and there's good money to be made, pull out money and whatever else you see fit too, whether that's maybe buying a rental property, starting another business, the list goes on, right? It's just another reminder that, unlike your own business that you started from the ground up, Amazon is still they're the judge. They're the judge at the end of the day. Great opportunity, I think, once in a lifetime, and I don't think it's going anywhere. But I don't think it's the end all be all play. It's a great opportunity. Make your money, continue to reinvest if you want to grow. But personally, if I were talking to a friend, I would also say, and I'm practicing what I preach, start to take money out when you can so that you can park it in other things. Diversifying isn't a crazy concept, but especially in the world of Amazon is something. I think scaling gets a little more glamorized, and the more I do this, it's like it can be a very poor cash flow business if you're always scaling, right? And then you have something like Amazon that could, I'm not one of these people to say they're just going to shut you down. I mean, it could happen, but like, if you do things the right way, I don't think it's really going to happen, or you can't come back. But yeah, just a swift reminder, it's Amazon's game. We're just a small part of it. They're $1 trillion brand tomorrow, or whatever they are. If we get our account gone, and to us, that could change out on a really nice 6-figure plus potential profit business. To them, they don't even feel it,
Yep. Yeah. Well said. Well said. There's a couple questions in their comments in the chat. I'll jump to quick. Saw a new observation why Amazon is not letting new sellers to sell brands by saying that your account doesn't qualify doing wholesale. Interesting. We think maybe that's why they're. I'm not sure I'm not fully understanding what they're saying. Is saying, if they think you could sell wholesale numbers, then you can, that's why they're removing brands like Clinique. I think this question was added when we were talking about Clinique.
A new observation. Yeah. I think what they're just saying is, hey, I do wholesale. I've applied for certain brands. I'm not getting approved in those brands, and they're saying my account doesn't qualify.
Gotcha.
I think that's just an invoice. Like, if you have the proper documentation, and I don't think there's any reason you shouldn't get approved for essentially any brand that you want to. So I would make sure that your documentation is buttoned up. It's a legit invoice and shows everything that they want on there. And if you do, I've I don't know about you, Alex, but like if it's a proper invoice, it's very rare that I have headaches.
Yep. And wholesalers, if it's a reputable wholesaler, they should be giving you pretty solid invoices with all the information, that you need or that Amazon requires. So if you're using those brands, even if you're using, if you're doing some wholesale and you have some OA in there, you can definitely still get approved or ungated with, retail receipts. You just have to make sure that what I've found for retail receipts is that you gotta include the like delivery confirmation so they know that, okay, you didn't just, say you purchased it and didn't actually receive the product. You're showing that you purchased it, product shipped, and it delivered to the billing address that you want. So that might
Yeah,
help
and
too.
also if you're doing wholesale, I don't have experience in wholesale, but I certainly wouldn't buy products before you're able to sell them, at least in bulk, or at
Yep.
least ask if the wholesaler knows you're selling on Amazon, just say point blank, do your invoices have success with ungating? You know?
Yep. And sometimes, I mean, there is the option. This is pretty rare that people use it, but they do have the option if you're buying brand direct. I guess wholesale is a little bit different. If it is wholesale through the brand, you can get authorization to sell, or have them write you a letter of authorization, which is equivalent to an invoice getting you ungated. So that's an option, but only if it's brand direct, really. The distributor, they're not going to have the authorization to allow you to sell or not sell on Amazon. But okay, Marcus asks, how do you guys keep track of your purchases and quantities when you replan? Do you have a spreadsheet or Google Sheet and then tie in the ASIN ID to know which ASIN the purchase was for? I actually have, if you're interested, I have in some of my other YouTube videos, I have a spreadsheet that I offer. It's free. It's basically you're tracking every purchase that you make. And it's got the ASIN, the purchase price, the store you bought it from, the sale price you want to sell it at, the quantity received. Jonathan, do you have a spreadsheet that you track, personal one that you use to track all your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll tell you what I do for my normal purchases. I have date of purchase, the confirmation number, the retailer, the ASIN, buy cost, and maybe a note if it's unique or something like that. But as far as like, I don't have anything specific for my replens. It's just when I make a purchase, I document it for a variety of reasons. For one, when I receive it, I can also the quantity to make sure I receive the right quantity. It's just really easy to quickly go through stuff. It's nice to just look at things that you've recently bought, and when you start to grow, you just forget a lot of the things that you've bought and possibly even sold. And so what I like about Google Sheets a lot is not just to making sure I'm receiving not just receiving what I ordered, but also it's not hard, but it's maybe a little more advanced. You can take all of your ASINs and then you can upload it to Keep a Product Viewer. And now you can filter like which of these items have gone up 30% on the buy box in the last 3 months, stuff like that. So the bigger catalog that I have from things I've bought, things I've sold, things that didn't have enough profit, things that were out of stock, the more quality ASINs I have, it's just a numbers game. At any given time, a certain percentage of those are going to hit. So the more I have, the more winning products I'm going to have. So I keep track of a lot, to be honest. And it's simple though. It's not like a detailed. It's a super simple sheet.
Yep. And if you want some, I mean, replens are hard to track unless you're really watching your sales like every single day, looking at everything that sells.
Right.
But I use Seller Board actually for some of the actually understanding my profits on each item, so you can replen. And Seller Board does have a replen kind of calculator. They help you determine based on your inputs of lead times and stuff like that, how soon you need to replen based on your actual sales data. But it's only data that you sell. So if you buy 5 of them and you sell, one person orders 3 and then you sell 2 over the next week, the data is a little skewed to it doesn't really understand when you need to replen or how often. But it definitely helps to I think however you're going to do it, you definitely want to be tracking the ASINs and then referring to your sales history to understand should I be buying more of these? Should I be, am I profitable if I buy more? Did I get one return out of five? And then not really understanding that, well, it says I'm still making 30% ROI, but with the return, it's actually only 14%. And if that trend continues, are you still profitable? So tracking is only going to help you. That's for sure.
Yeah, and also, I mean, this isn't super detailed, but I mean, I look at my sales every day. You just kind of get a feel for, oh, I just scrolled and I saw this come up. These must have just got checked in. I saw them sell 3 times today, right?
Yep.
But and then if I go to replan, I do almost sometimes like waiting a little so I can see if any returns happen. I mean, it's not a big deal to go maybe another 10, 20 units, but before, one tip I would definitely say before getting carried away, it's not that uncommon to have an item that you think's a home run, it's flying. I shouldn't say not that uncommon. It's not unheard of by any means. It happens to all of us. Oh, I was
Mhm.
actually selling the wrong size. That's why it flew off the shelf and I didn't catch it, but every one of them got returned. So actually I shouldn't buy more of these, right?
Yeah.
So I would say too with replens, um, sometimes it's worth another test buy so you can get more data on the returns. And then now I know we're all greedy and we want the quick fix, but like the more patient you can be, the more confident you can be in that replen as well.
And I mean, we're getting real nitpicky at this point, but I'll tell you my situation. This was Black Friday. I bought 15 units and of a certain product. It was like a Nike shirt or something. And I sold all 15 within like 4 days. And at that point, there was maybe like 3 sellers on the listing, and I merchant fulfilled them. So a week later, it was still on sale. The Black Friday sales were still happening. So I bought another 30. Well, at that point, so did 40 other people. And, not that I really could have predicted that, but it's, just the fact that just because, yeah, your first set of them sell in a certain period of time doesn't just automatically mean you should go super deep. Well, then at that point, it took me, the price didn't really tank because December was just really good with pricing. But it took me a lot longer to sell 30 units, right? I think I still have a couple, and that was over a month ago, and even through the December rush. So, yeah, I like the idea of a second, replen test buy. If you're replen test buying just to be safe, and it's a good product, and it's maybe evergreen or a long term solid buy, you can't go wrong like taking it the safe route. So then when you do have the right opportunity, right, you can go super deep because you really tested it out and that it's a good product.
I also like to add to that. I was just thinking about like when I'm replanning something, I like to go into the app, real simple, and just see how many have I sold in the last 30 days, 90 days, year, whatever it is. And let's say I had a pop, like we're in January. Let's say for whatever reason, I actually haven't had the opportunity to sell it because it hasn't been in stock, whatever, for the 3 months, right? I see though, in November, I sold, or October, I sold 20 of them. Well, I'm going to go into Keepa and see what it looked like in October because things can look very different now. I might have sold 20 because there was a buy box and there was no other sellers, right? But now there's 3 sellers and actually the buy box is gone, like just making up some random variables. But
Yep.
it's a really good idea to look at your history with those sales and also what the conditions looked like at that given time relative to your current conditions.
Yep. Exactly. And if Marcus doesn't get enough of an explanation from that, I think needs to rewatch this. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of just to reiterate on the reason we're doing this live together is we're just really deep diving on certain topics. I know we kind of got through our topic at the beginning of this live here, but in the future we're definitely planning on diving deep on certain Keepa charts or going over specific topics. And we're going to try to do this weekly. So if you guys do have topics or really, overarching ideas that you want answered, let us know in the comments or in the DMs on Instagram, however you want to notify us. But we'll try to get to every question that we have just so, we really want to show our knowledge and give as much value as we can to the community, because there's always something you can learn about a keep a chart or about some data of a product or sales history. So um, anyway, that's the plan. We'll answer if you guys have any more questions right now. Definitely drop them below. We'll probably go maybe 5 more minutes. Does that sound good?
Yep. And Philly does have one. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, good. Perfect. Yep. Start with OA 3000. How would you recommend I approach for good growth? I think there's a million different ways to approach it. I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, I'm going off the top of my head here. First thing that comes to mind, I can't advocate for this enough. When you have a budget like 3,000, in the big scheme of like online arbitrage, it's not a huge budget. I don't say that in a discouraging way, but what I say is the advantage to that is that you can be and should be very, very selective. Okay. And especially if you're starting off, like I would strive for, let's say, 50% return on investment. In this way, you're building cushion if you got it wrong, because you are going to get charts wrong, and you can even read charts perfectly and things still change, right? So the thing is, with 3,000, you can be very, very selective. And that is a great way, in my opinion, to build that number much quicker than if you were willing to take 20% ROI or whatever the case may be. So if I had one piece of advice, when you have a limited budget, lean into the advantage of you should be and have the ability to be very, very selective and get as much return on investment as you can. And for the long run, it's going to make you a better sourcer anyway.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have too much variety to that answer, because I mostly agree with that. I mean, good growth is a little, like are you trying to double that money in a month? I mean, that's hard to do. Again, 3,000, yeah, in relativity is not a huge budget. But if you're able to, what I would focus on with the 3,000 is, yeah, you can be a little more picky on your products. And then what I, suggest is also like really research those products after they start selling. Like did you bought it, let's say January 25th, when that's available to sell, maybe in 2 weeks from now, if you ship it FBA, or 3 weeks from now, did it do exactly what you thought you wanted it to do? Did the price drop a little bit? And then go back and, really dive into like, well, how did I find this product? Did I use the 20% off coupon that was plastered all over the homepage? Or did Capital One Shopping give me a secret 10% that I didn't know of? How easy was it to find the product? Like really dive into all of the different metrics of, what made you buy that lead in the first place? And then is that repetitive? And it, did it do what you thought it would? And that going through that approach is probably going to help you learn the process of sourcing a little bit quicker, because definitely at the beginning, it's going to be, you might make some bad buys, and that's okay. But to minimize those, you really want to learn the ins and outs of sourcing. And with a $3,000 budget, again, it might take you a little bit. Maybe you spend all of that in the first month, and then now you're waiting for products to sell. Maybe you get half of that back by the end of the next month, and then you're able to reinvest that. So you don't want, for how long it's going to take to double that money and triple that money, you want to, make sure that you are learning as much as you can along the way.
Yeah, and none of that to be discouraging. I think it's absolutely enough to start, and not everyone has to strive for 10,000. One of the beauties of Amazon is you want to make $500 extra a month, you can absolutely do that. If you want to make 10,000 profit, you could probably do that too. You got to start somewhere. So like, don't let that discourage you. I mean, and we have no idea what your ambitions or reasoning is, but like, yeah, but I do think with that number, the biggest advantage is like, be very selective, see a lot of charts, see a lot of products, and just in general, to anyone starting, Amazon is absolutely a long-term play. So, so just knowing that, I just think the sooner you get started, the better. And just, yeah, use it the best you can.
And just to elaborate a little bit, that 3,000, right? If we, like you said, if we want to make an extra $500 a month, if you spend the 3,000 on good inventory, $500 profit is only 16% ROI.
Right.
So that's like, if you only want to make extra 500 and you have 3,000 to spend, you can make some mistakes. You can buy some bad products while paired with some good products and still hit that $500 goal. So yeah, definitely. I mean, we've both been selling long enough where we know that this is possible and you can scale, at a reasonable rate if you're buying, good products, if you're being smart about it, building your, that knowledge foundation.
Yeah.
And it's worked great for us, but it takes time, right? I mean, it takes years of practice to really scale up to big numbers.
I mean, and also if you're being super selective, like a 2% back, 2% cashback credit card, plus if you're waiting on like better cashback days, I mean, you could probably make 7%. What's that? $210 just on cashback alone. From if you're selective, again, like there's different opportunities there are certainly some advantages to the newness. So lean into that.
I agree. All right. Looks like we're out of questions, but thanks everyone for joining. We had a lot of fun. And again, each week we're going to try to do this live call weekly together so we can really dive deep on certain topics. We feel like we have some good knowledge to give about different things with Amazon, whether it's, Keepa charts, whether it's, sales history, whether it's, anything selling on Amazon. So that's the plan. We're going to, go back and forth, might share a screen, do some sourcing, every once in a while. But if you guys have any questions that you want answered or any topics you want us to go over in the future, definitely let us know. And hopefully same time next week.
Hey, real quick, something just crossed my mind. I just want to add here to Philly.
Yeah.
I think it might be worth buying a leads list, by the way, if you're brand new, not because it's going to make you a fortune if you just buy the leads, but it'll expose you to a lot of new brands and sites, many of which are already vetted to not have IP complaints and such. And so if you really don't know where to start, talking about being super selective, you can buy one from a leads list every couple of days and it would still pay for the leads list, but it would also give you exposure to sites and brands that, one of the hardest things about when you're starting is just, I don't even know where to begin. So that might not be a bad idea. And by the way, I'll shout out Dave. He goes by OA Deals online. I know he's very reputable, has a good leads list, and there's a lot of other ones out there. But that might be something worth considering, which when I started, I used to have a bad connotation with leads list. I actually now think it's a great place to learn to expand your horizons. So just wanted to get that in there.
Yep. I agree. Marcus, still is perfect. Thanks. Philly, thank you for the tips. This was great. More questions for the next live. All right. We'll see you guys next week. We appreciate everyone that came by and see you next time.
See you guys.